First, I'm going to make a generic geometric asset with the cylinder at the center and some bits rotated accurately around it, because that's always quite satisfying to see. So extruding and insetting, adding a cube, adjusting that on the X and the Z axis and moving it in position. That position being offset slightly from the center. Into edit mode, tweak that edge, inset and extrude that top face. I'm then going to add an empty at the center of the cylinder and add an array modifier to the cube. I'm zeroing out the offset values and selecting object offset and setting the empty as the object to offset the cube from. I can then rotate the empty on the Z axis, and that will rotate the duplicate cubes on that axis. So upping the count in the array and rotating the empty by 60 degrees on the Z axis gives us this effect. I'm then applying the array modifier and joining the two objects together, giving it a bit of a bevel and naming the object. So I'm going to use this torus donut object and a nurbs path to make some cables or pipes that I thought looked suitably space age. Adding an array modifier to the torus and offsetting it by 1 on the Z axis to stack the duplicates on top of each other. And then adding a curve modifier and setting the nurbs path as the active object to map the torus across that path. You can then go into edit mode on the path and start modeling the position of the verts, and the torus will follow that path. So it's a bit like a path in Adobe Illustrator. However, we are not applying stroke values to this path, we're applying 3D mesh objects. Just setting the 3D cursor to the top vert there so I can accurately add this cylinder in position. Making some duplicates so I can create a little bit of variation and variety to my scene, and looking for something good to happen. So using my right view and constraining the verts to the X and Z axis by using G and X and G and Z so I can put them where I want them to go. So one final duplication into the right view, box select, deleting those verts, extruding the bottom vert down on the Z axis to make a vertical variation, moving them out of the way. This last asset, I don't know what it is, but it was easy because it makes use of the mirror modifier. There's something quite rewarding about a function which mirrors what you're doing, ultimately doubling your output. So just extruding and insetting, extruding and scaling, Control R for a loop cut, Alt clicking to select a loop of faces, Alt E to extrude on the normals. Making a duplication of that pipe that I'd made previously and moving it into position, using the top view, using my views to get that accurately into position, putting it somewhere that looks sensible. Applying the mirror modifiers and joining those two objects together with Control J, giving the asset a name so that I can find it later. Applying the curve and the array modifier and joining that up with the cylinder and giving it a name. I'm then opening up my scene, and I can use the append function to add those objects into this scene. So file, append, into the file you were working in, into the objects folder, and select the assets you need. I'm just using the setting cursor to the selected object and then snapping the asset to the 3D cursor to get it roughly into position, just rotating it, scaling it, moving it about to get it into position, rotating it on the Z axis there, and again, cursor to selected object, selecting another asset and using F3 to search for the function, just searching for the word cursor, and I found that cursor snap object to the 3D cursor. Having the cursor in the correct position, you can get things where you want them. And this time using the top view and the right view to place this object somewhere where it doesn't look too stupid. Just playing about with some materials that I already had created. Just adding this chrome material to add a hint of glamour and style to an otherwise fairly lo-fi effort. So the challenge is to make 2 or 3 assets to add to your environment. Have fun.